Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I hope that you are well wherever you are watching, and I appreciate you being here on this Shabbat. This Shabbat is a little bit different than normal. If everything were as we wish they were, we would all be here in the sanctuary together, and as has been the custom for the last several years, that we set aside this Shabbat, the Shabbat that falls during the week of Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, to make sure that we acknowledge the significance of, I hesitate to even call it a holiday, but of the significance of the remembrance, the obligated moment in which we think of the horrors of the Shoah, and to remember the lives that were lost, and to connect it to our Shabbat experience, which is not an easy needle to thread. Somehow or another we are meant to be in sort of two places at once, in grief and in pain, and at the same time our obligation to Shabbat, as it has been from the very beginning, is to celebrate Shabbat with joy and with gladness. So the way that we've at least attempted over the last few years to reconcile this is to begin our service before we start Kabbalat Shabbat, before we light our Shabbat candles, before we even sort of get ourselves into that Shabbat mindset, that we do what in Hebrew would be called a tekes, a commemoration of sorts, to acknowledge in a significant way that we come into the Shabbat certainly excited and joyful about the experience of Shabbat itself, but carrying a heavy heart from this week's acknowledgement and celebration, or I should say not celebration, acknowledgement and remembrance of Yom HaShoah. So the tradition here, which goes back before my time, is to light this very unique menorah that sits in front of us, that each contains a Yizkor candle and was created by the hands of the young people of this generation, of this community, and of this temple. And I wish he was here tonight, but our Hebrew school director, Leah Oppenheimer, from many years ago, emeritus, I should say at this point, helped to create this with her students, as I said, before my time. And while it's normally a very powerful experience in our community to have survivors and children of survivors, people connected to the Shoah directly, to light these candles, tonight I will have to do it in their place. And I hope that those that are watching, especially those who would normally be the ones to light with me tonight, will be here in spirit in that way. So I want to begin in a couple of ways. First with a brief reading, then with a moment of silence, and then to sing something, to light our candles, and then ultimately to offer what is a unique Mourner's Kaddish that is part of our prayer book and part of a growing number of traditions that acknowledges specifically the loss of the Shoah, of the Holocaust itself. So I want to just begin with a reading that's in our prayer book, which if you're following online, which would be on page 539 in the online version. I'll just read it now, and I hope that it will resonate with you as it did with me this evening. We begin with silence, the silence of death, the silence after destruction. There are times when songs falter, when darkness fills life, when martyrdom becomes a constellation of faith against the unrelieved black of space about us. There are no words to reach beyond the edge of night, no messenger to tell the full tale. There is only silence, the silence of Job, the silence of the 6 million, the silence of memory. Let us remember them as we link our silences. So I'll offer now a moment of silent reflection for you at home, for me as well. Now I'm going to turn to page 549 in the online version, page 531 in our physical prayer book if you're following at home. At the very top of the page is a a statement that has become, because of the melody and because of its, let's say, theological import and connection to the aftermath of the Shoah, is a song that I was taught when I was a young person singing in the chorus of the Heschel School. And every year the chorus would sing as part of the commemoration of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. And so I remember this melody, and whenever I hear it, and it appears in many different contexts, but to me it always speaks to this moment and to, as I said, both something of a salve and something of a challenge in terms of our understanding of our theology. So again, we're on page 549 in the online prayer book, 531 in the physical. And if you know the melody at home, I hope that you'll sing along with me. Ani mamin, ani mamin, ani mamin, ve'emuna shlema, be'viat HaMashiach, be'viat HaMashiach ani mamin, ve'af al pi she'yitmamea im kol ze ani mamin. I'll now go to light our candles, and as I said, I wish that I wasn't the only one to have to do this tonight, but I will do my very best, and I'm thinking of those really specifically in my mind who've helped us in this process the last few years, and to know especially that I'm thinking of you tonight as I light these candles. And now at home, if I can ask you to please rise if you are able, as we turn in the online prayer book to page 551, in our physical prayer book to page 533, as we offer this unique Mourner's Kaddish, one that calls out many of, not all of, but many of the locations that saw the worst atrocities of the Shoah. And as we say each name, we do as best as we can to connect ourselves to that place and to those souls that we knew or did not know, that were taken so callously, so heartlessly, and so painfully all those years ago. Yitkadal Auschwitz, V'yitkadash Lodz, Shemei Rabbah Ponar, Ve'alma Divra Chirutei Babayar, Ve'amlich Malchutei Maidanek, B'chayechon of Yomechon Birkenau, V'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael Kovna, Ba'agala B'zman Kariv Shanoska, V'yimru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'alam U'le'almei Almaya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach Theresienstadt, V'yitba'ar V'yitramam Buchenwald, V'yitnaseh V'yitadar Treblinka, V'yitaleh V'yitalal Vilna, Shemei Dekudsha Barichu, Bergen-Belsen. Le'ela, 1,000. Min kol birchata v'shirata, Dachau. Tushbechata v'nechamata, Minsk. Da'amiran be'alma, Vorsa. V'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. As we move through the service, and I can only speak for myself, the reality is we're going to find a lot of dissonance, a lot of moments in which, after doing something as painful and as powerful as just reading those names to say the Kaddish, to light these candles, we now have a responsibility of sorts to transition our minds to Shabbat, and to transition our minds to this idea of how we are meant to hold and carry on the memories and the legacies and the horrors of the Shoah. And I don't have an answer for how to exist in both of those worlds. I simply can say, and I'll remark on this a little bit later on in our service, that this is in some ways the responsibility of and the challenge of being a Jewish person. That somehow we are expected at all times to exist in the world of celebration and joy and gladness and all of the things that Judaism brings to our lives, that God brings to our lives, and yet at the same time, not to act as if we are not also pained and bereaved and grieved. And when we come to this moment in our life cycle, in our cycle of the year, that we are meant to live and to spend significant time in this space in between, in this place in which we feel a dissonance. And each of us will emerge from it in different ways. But I hope in some way that this Shabbat service will be able to help each of you, each in your own way at home, to feel that dissonance, to feel that connection, and ultimately, I hope, to feel something that helps you to process and to connect to this incredibly heartbreaking and challenging aspect of our history, and not at the same time to lose sight of the remarkable reality that we find ourselves in today and all of the things that have happened to the Jewish people since that horrible time. So with that in mind, we're going to shift into our Shabbat mode, to shift into what we have done for the last several weeks, beginning with Yedid Nefesh, which I think tonight takes on an even more powerful element to it. And I hope and I pray that for you, as it is for me, that singing is oftentimes the most helpful means by which to process that which has no words. So if you'll join with me, we are back in our prayer book, as I said, and I'm going to do my very best to announce pages both in our physical prayer book and also in our online prayer book as well. So online, it would be page 654, and in our prayer book, our physical prayer book would be page 636, and I hope you'll join with me at home if you can. Yedid nefesh av harachaman meshoach avdecha el retzonecha yarutz avdecha kemo ayal yishtach ותתרפא, והייתה לה שמחת עולם, ותהי כאמונה, רחמך וחוסנה על בן אהובך, כי זה כמה נחשפתי לראות בתפארת עוזך, אנא אלי חמדת ליבי, חוסנה ואל נא תתעלם, יגאלנה ופרוס חביבי עלי את סוכת שלומך, תהי ארץ מכבודך, נגילה ונשמחה בך, מהר אהוב כי במועד, וחננו כי מעולם. יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So I'm going to light and bless our Shabbat candles now. If you're following at home, it's page 138 in the online, page 120 in the book. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'adlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Before we begin Kabbalat Shabbat, we'll take a few moments for ourselves just to close our eyes, to reflect and center ourselves just a little before we begin. As we open our eyes, let's take a deep breath in, a deep breath out. And we're going to open our Sidurim, or online or in person, or tangible, I should say, to page 148 in the online, 130 in the book, as we begin Kabbalat Shabbat together, L'chu Neranana, at the very top of the page. L'chu Neranana, L'Adonai, Nariyah, Letzor Yishenu, Nekad Mahafanahav, We now turn to page 149 in the online, 131 in the book. Psalm 96, Shiru Ladonai, middle of the page. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru Meyom Leyom Yeshuato, Safru Vagoyim, Kevodo Bechol Ha'amim, Niflotav, Yai Lai Lai, Yai Lai Lai Lai, Yai Lai Lai, Yai Lai 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 Lai, Yai Lai Lai, Yai Lai Lai Lai, Yai Lai Lai Lai, Yai Lai Lai Lai, Yalla la yalla la yalla la 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 yalla la 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 yalla la 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 yalla la yalla la. We now turn to page 150 in the online, 132 in the book, bottom of the page, or Zarua. Or Zarua la tzadik, uleishrei lev simcha. Or Zarua la tzadik, uleishrei lev simcha. Or Zarua tzadik, uleishrei lev simcha. Or Zarua la tzadik, uleishrei lev simcha. Turn now to page 152 in the online, page 134 in the book. And I realize I should probably be specific. When I say the online version, if you're looking at it, the flip book version of things, there should be a little box towards the bottom which lets you put in an actual number there, and it will shift you automatically to whatever page. So there's about an 18-page discrepancy between what's in our physical book and that numbering system online. So this is just to try to help those at home that are following to be able to skip around easily. But again, that's why I'm going to give both page numbers what we see in our physical book and what you would be able to use to expedite your situation at home. So again, we're now on page 152 in the online, page 134. We are on page 150 in the online, page 132 at the bottom of the page in the physical book, or Zarua. Or Zarua la tzadik, uleishrei lev simcha. 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 Now we turn to page 152 online, 134 in the book. Zamru Ladonai at the very top of the page. Zamru Ladonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra, b'chatzotrot vekol shofar, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai, Yiram hayamum lo, tebehel veyoshmeva, neharoti haaretz, yishpot tevel betzedek, ve'amim b'mesharim, yiram hayamum lo, tevel ve'yoshveva, neharot imcha uchaf yachad, harim yeraneinu. We're now on page 153 in the online, 135 in the book. Romamu, the fourth paragraph in Hebrew, in the middle of the page. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'ahar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'ahar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'ahar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'ahar kodsho. Turn now to page 154 online, 136 in the book. Mizmor LeDavid, very top of the page. Mizmor LeDavid, Havul Adonai b'nei Elim, Havul Adonai kavod va'oz, Havul Adonai kevod shemo, Yishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai al hamayim, El hakavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim, Adonai al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arzei halvanon, Vayarkidehem kemo egel, Levanon ve'Sirion, kemo ben reimim, kemo ben reimim. Kol Adonai chotzev lamotesh, Kol Adonai yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, Vayechesov ye'arot uvechalo, Kulo mekavod, Kulo mekavod, Kulo mekavod. Adonai lamabu yashav, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz le'amo yitem, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. We turn now to Lachadodi on page 156 online, 138 in our books. Again, very top of the page, Lachadodi. Lechadodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התנערי מעפר קומים, לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי, על יד בן ישי ותלחמי, קרבה אל נפשי גאלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקמי, מה תשתכחי, ומה תמי בך יחסו עניי עמי, ונבנתה עיר עתילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. והיו לשמסו שוסייך ורחקו כל, נבלייך יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, ימסוס חתן. כלה לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי בית אדוני, תריצי על יד איש, בן פרצי ונשמחה, ונגילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה. יאי לי לי לי, איי לה 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 לה, איי לי לי לי, איי לה 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 לה, איי לי לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי 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 לי. Turn now to page 158 online, page 140 in the book. 92nd Psalm, Tzadik Katamar, right where it indents in Hebrew in the middle of the page. Tzadik Katamar Yifrach Kerez Balvanon Shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun beseva deshenim verananim yehu lehagi ki ashar Adonai Suri velo avlatabahu. We now rise for the Chatzi Kaddish and remain standing through the Baruch Hu. So we turn to page 162 online, 144 in our book. Again, please rise for the Chatzi Kaddish. יתקדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועמד יברח ירתי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה, ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יש מרבה מברך, לעלם וליעל מעל מיה, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן ועלמה, ואמרו Amen. Remaining standing for the Baruch Hu on page 164 online, 146 in the book. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. Please be seated at home. Turn together to the bottom of page 166 online, 148 in the book, as we offer the first blessing before the Shema together in English at the very bottom of the page. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, ruling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Arabim. We turn now to page 168 on line 150 in the book, as we recite together in English at the bottom of the page the second blessing before the Shema. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, והם נגי יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני echad. Now page 172 on line 154 in the book. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך וכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם האמת. We now read together in English on the top of page 175 online, 157 in the book. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot. That wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt. That there is a better place, a promised land. That the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. That there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Now on page 176 online, 158 in the book. Yabbai by bim 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 bam, yabbai by bim bam, yabbai by bim 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 bam, yabbai by bim bam, yabbai ba 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 ba, yabbai by bim bam, yabbai ba 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 ba, yabbai by bim bam. Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, ni kamocha nedar bakodesh. Nor tehilot osefele, nor tehilot osefele. Yabai by bim 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 bam, yabai by bim bam, yabai by bim 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 bam, yabai by bim bam, yabai ba 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 ba, yabai by bim bam, yabai ba 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 ba, yabai by bim bam. מלכותך ראו פניך, בוקעם לפני משה ומרים, זה ליאנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פרד אדוני את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גל ישראל. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Hashkivenu, page 178 on line 160 in the book. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom ve'amidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom ve'amidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ushmor tzeiteinu, u'einu, lechaim u'shalom, me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom ve'amidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom ve'amidenu shomreinu lechaim. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace has spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Yerushalayim. V'shamru, page 180 on line 162 in the book. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam einai beini uvein bnei Yisrael oti leolam ki sheishet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz uvayom hashvi Shabbat Shabbat v'inafash. I ask those at home who are able to please rise as we begin the Amidah together on page 182 on line 164 in the book. And as always, we will then continue silently. Please go at your own pace, and when you're finished, you may be seated. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Ose Shalom Bimromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel Ose Shalom Bimromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imeu Amen. And turn now in our online prayer book to page 389, in our physical prayer book to page 371, as we offer our Mishaberach, our prayer for healing this evening. And certainly in addition to those in our community and connected to us directly, we are holding in our hearts and our minds the entire world as we hope and pray for a speedy recovery for those affected and for our entire world to find the healing that is so necessary at this moment. And of course, as I said the last few weeks, and we will continue to do so, that while this prayer is really meant for those who are suffering and in need of healing, we add also in our hearts and minds the thoughts of those who are on the front lines helping to do that healing, not just the doctors and nurses, but everybody, everyone that is serving out there in the world at risk for the rest of us who are able to stay at home. We think of all of them as we say this prayer today. Mishaberach Avotenu ve'imotenu Abraham Yitzchak ve'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yevarech et hacholim ha'elu. We think of those in our community and connected to our community in need of healing. Linda Shapiro, Joanne Sanborn, Jean Ben Sadoun, Gloria Taradash, Andrea Klausner, Judy Stern, Miriam Cornfield, Roz Brody, Chana Ruth Bat Sarah, Marlise Silverberg, Louis Davidson, Susan Spruce, Fagel Tzipora Bat Elisheva Bat Sarah, Richard Gambino, Michelle Sawicki, Idel Basha Bat Yitzchak, Tzvi Menachem Ben Chaim, Rivka Bat Devora, Amy and Gavin Tucker, Janice Kurz, David Dowling, Neil Elliott and Eileen Rosen, Israel Ben Yitzchak, Ben Sion Ben Moshe, Lorraine Danis, Buddy Kassoff, Shelley Newmark, David Kyle Klopman, Rivka Bat Rachel, Sarah Bat Chana, Moshe Eliezer Ben Sivia, Peretz Ben Yehuda, and Leah Bat Naomi. We'll pause for a moment now for all of those at home, if you're thinking of loved ones, to mention their names aloud now. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachamim Alehem L'Chalimam L'Rapotam L'Chazikam V'Yishlach Lehem Mehira Refuah Shlema Min HaShamayim Refuat HaNefesh Refuat HaGuf Hashtab Agalav Zman Kariv V'Namar Amen. And the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are suffering. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, and let us say together, Amen. Misheberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So this evening we had planned to have a really remarkable guest speaker, Maritza Shelley, who I shouldn't promise anything these days, but I hope very much that we will have a chance to hear from her about her remarkable story. And as has been the case for years in this congregation, long before my time, we've always tried as best as we can to find a presenter, a speaker for Yom HaShoah that can speak either in a direct fashion or as a family member of the experience of the Shoah and the effect of it. And I've always been really deeply appreciative of those moments, largely because I'm somewhat unusual in the sense that both sides of my family were already in this country before the war started, before the horrors of the Shoah, by not such an insignificant margin of years. It doesn't mean that the extended families didn't experience the horrors of the Shoah that were staying behind, but in terms of my growing up, we didn't have the experience of some of my friends having a grandmother, a grandfather, an aunt, an uncle, a parent even, who could speak again from the sort of personal experience of what the Shoah means. And so I can't speak to that tonight, and to even attempt to do that, I think would be a disservice. But one thing I did want to share was something of an interesting, I'm going to say interesting, a real significant challenge that I think was articulated by a colleague of mine online, and that I think has caused me to think quite a great deal about the challenge of Yom HaShoah, especially for those of us that see ourselves as part of a larger world. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. So, as I think I mentioned in previous instances, on Facebook there are small groups, as you probably already know, and I'm a part of several of those smaller groups that are focused around the CCAR, the Central Conference of American Rabbis, the Union of Reform Rabbis. And so colleagues constantly are posting questions, reflections, thoughts. And as we came up to Yom HaShoah, one person wrote something which got very few responses, which I will tell you online is actually an indication of people's discomfort with the statement in the first place. Usually, you get 30, 40 responses to every post. In this case, last I checked, there may have been 2 responses, and I'm not sure any of them even really addressed what the rabbi in question was talking about. But this rabbi raised basically a concern that they had, that increasingly they were seeing that on Yom HaShoah there was not just a recollection or a remembrance of the 6 million Jewish lives that were taken, but also a connection to the millions of other lives that were taken in the Shoah as well, specifically those of Romani or Gypsy heritage, those of LGBTQ circumstances, those who were disabled or otherwise considered not part of the future of the Aryan race, and all of those lives that were taken as part of the Holocaust. And his main point was to say that Yom HaShoah, unlike International Holocaust Remembrance Day, is a Jewish holiday. It's a holiday that was created after the Shoah and has a Jewish specificity to it. And he basically, or he or she, raised the concern that by connecting to all of these other lives, that we were somehow in danger of diminishing the specific nature of, the unique nature of the Holocaust as it affected the Jewish people and affects us to this day. So this was a rather provocative statement, but one that I think certainly caused me to think a great deal about my feelings on this issue. And I must say that I struggle with it a great deal. As most of you know, for lack of a better terminology, I think of myself and my connection to Judaism as many Reform communities, as many Reform rabbis, as many of the original Reform thinkers conceived, that Judaism, on the one hand, being unique and special and a heritage, is still part of a larger universe, part of a larger world in which we are all part of something interconnected. And that when something as horrible, for example, as the Shoah happens, and even though it was directed primarily at our people, that the idea of connecting this horror, this atrocity, to others that suffered in the same time period, and also drawing connection to other contemporaneous or even more current manifestations of the same kind of hatred, at least in this rabbi's mind, was perfectly acceptable in any other circumstance or any other day, but that Yom HaShoah was meant to be specific and reflective of the unique aspect of the Shoah, the Holocaust, as it relates to the Jewish people. And so I think the silence, so to speak, online speaks to the discomfort that many of us who have this sort of more, shall I say, universalistic kind of outlook, this connectedness to things beyond Judaism, that many of us felt uncomfortable with that statement because, you know, how can you see the Holocaust only in a vacuum? How can it be so only specific? How can we not also realize that there were millions of other lives that were taken in the Shoah, not even counting those that died as the effect of the war itself? And at the same time, I can also commiserate, I can understand a little bit about what this rabbi was concerned about. That, you know, if we become too universalistic in every aspect of our understanding of Judaism, and if we become too universalistic in the understandings of the Shoah and the Holocaust, that there is a danger of diminishing, again, that sort of specific nature of how it relates to us as a people. And so we have to exist to some degree in this tension and in this place. And, you know, I immediately thought of, as I often do, of Rabbi Heschel, and he wrote rather powerfully in one of his remarkable books, In God in Search of Man, just a very short quote that speaks to sort of where he felt as one of the only people in his family that survived the Shoah, that got out before it happened, and to be a rabbi in the aftermath of that, forgetting even the theological implications of that, but as you will understand in a second, how he connected this experience that was, again, specific to Judaism and specific even to his family, and yet took its kernel, its essence, its emotion, and then used it as a propulsion towards work on behalf of all of humanity. So he writes in God in Search of Man, the essential predicament of man, or mankind, has assumed a peculiar urgency in our time. Living as we do in a civilization where factories were established in order to exterminate millions of men, women, and children. And then he connects this later on in another book, actually in this case it's an interview with Carl Stern, and he's talking about the impact of the prophets on his way of thinking. And he says that, I've learned from the prophets that I have to be involved in the affairs of mankind, in the affairs of suffering people. Again, I've learned from the prophets that I have to be involved in the affairs of mankind and in the affairs of suffering people. So what's the connection between all of this? It's to say that Heschel understood in a very, very serious way that the experience of the Holocaust was unique and singular. No matter how many other horrible things have happened in the history of humanity, there was something truly horrific about the almost dispassionate way in which our people and others were obliterated. The mechanized form, the simplified form, so to speak, of the destruction of human life. And he saw in the aftermath of that, right, just because the war ended and just because the Shoah itself ended, he understood that a paradigm had shifted, that the horrors of what had been seen in that were unique in the history of humanity. And therefore, the concern for the aftermath, the concern for the future, needed to be met in equal form. And he draws then the connection to his study of the prophets to understand that the prophets couldn't only exist in the world of lament, or exist in the world of rending garments, or speaking of the atrocities of humanity towards each other. That the role of the prophet, ultimately speaking, and I think he derived from that the role of every Jewish person, is to take even the horrors of the past and to learn from them to the point in which to understand that the unspeakable evil that was manifested in the Holocaust was not a historical event. It is part of a larger struggle of humanity. And that if we were not careful, if we did not work on behalf of all of humanity, not just the Jewish people, but all of humanity, then the likelihood is that there can, and perhaps even will be, another circumstance like this. Very likely, or potentially directed at our people, but also, as we have seen in countless examples, directed at other powerless people around the world. So for Heschel, he had to basically understand that on the one hand, the Holocaust was unique, the Shoah is unique, and therefore, again, extrapolating from that Yom HaShoah itself is unique, the commemoration of it is unique. And yet at the same time, if we only have blinders on, if we only look at this in terms of its impact on the Jewish people and on those who lost their lives in the Shoah, and don't take lessons from it, don't take obligations to act as a result of it, then we are also missing a significant piece. And so lastly, I want to draw a connection to this week's portion in this parsha that we're going to read tomorrow, which in fact is a double portion. Tazria Metzora, which is a somewhat infamous section of the Torah that deals primarily with ailments, focused especially around this idea of Metzora, this idea of what was usually translated as leprosy, but is a sort of a spiritual affliction of the body. And its connection to the portion Tazria, which basically says Metzora is really all about the illnesses, about the pain, about the suffering. And then Metzora is all about healing, right? How do you deal with it after the horror, after all of the terrible stuff that happens, after the pain, after the suffering? How do we then deal with it? How do we heal? How do we move forward? And I think in some ways that's the answer to the challenge that this rabbi online posed in front of all of us, in front of myself. And that he basically set up, and I understand why, something of a dichotomy, right? Either Yom HaShoah is exclusively for the Jewish people, or it's not. And I would suggest that I think actually is a false dichotomy. That I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think that we can acknowledge that Yom HaShoah, unlike International Holocaust Remembrance Day, that Yom HaShoah is in fact a Jewish holiday. That it is and meant to be focused specifically on the Jewish lives that were lost in the Shoah, and I shouldn't say lost, were taken in the Shoah. But I think the day after, the moment after, that Yom HaShoah is over, the next day needs to be focused much more widely. We need to understand that the experience of the Shoah, even if it affected us the most, and the most directly, and the pain is still there, that if the next day we don't take that pain and try to turn it into healing, right? That if we don't go out and act in the world on behalf of all those who are suffering in the world in which we are living today, in all manner, right? Either directly or indirectly, either under state-sponsored forms of hatred or otherwise. If we don't become prophets, as Heschel says, if we don't act on behalf of those who don't have a voice, we are missing something as well. And so I don't think it has to be an either-or. I just simply think we should follow the instruction of most Jewish holidays, which is we have a set period of time, 24 or 25-hour period. And in that period of time, we focus intently on whatever the focus is of that holiday. In the case of Yom HaShoah, the loss of Jewish life in that time. But the next day, right, the next day after, the next week after, the next several months after, we must remember and make a connection to that and look to how we're going to heal. Right? The same way in Tazria Metzora, the same way we have these double portions. Right? One speaks to the pain, the other speaks to the healing. Yom HaShoah is about the pain, about feeling it real, in tangible ways. But afterwards, we must focus on the healing. We must focus on the ways to move forward. We must focus on every way that we have in our capacity to help those who are still struggling, who are losing their lives, with the same basic evil that was so callously and so mercilessly and so mechanically used against our people. So I hope on this Yom HaShoah, while I am certainly no stand-in for the experience of a survivor or children of survivors, and by no means does my sermon tonight give us, I think, any indication of how to even begin to fathom the true terror and horror of the Holocaust. I hope that there is at least some message here that we can take to realize that each of us has a role to play, whether we were directly impacted, whether our families were directly impacted or not. We have an obligation to remember, but we have an equally important obligation to act. And I think on this Shabbat and after this Shabbat, I hope each of us will think about how we individually, collectively, can act in our world. So with that, I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom, certainly with a heavier heart than a normal Shabbat. So at this point, I'll ask you at home if you are able to please rise as we count the Omer, mark the days and the weeks between the holiday of Pesach and the upcoming holiday of Shavuot. In our prayer books online, it will be page 588, and in our physical prayer book, page 570. Again, if you please join me at home. Hineni muchan umezuman lekayem mitzvat aseh shel sefirat haomer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat haomer. Our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom shisha asar yom shehem shnei shavuot u'shnei yamim la'omer. Today marks 16 days, which is 2 weeks and 2 days of the Omer. We remain standing, and we will turn now to page 604 in the online, page 586 in the print. Aleinu l'shabech, the second paragraph down from the very top of the page.
Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, latet kedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu keyoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishbechot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, vanachnu korim, umishtachavim, umodim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, v'yom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad.
I'll now ask those at home who are mourning or observing yahrzeit to please remain standing. Everyone else may be seated. We think of those who have passed in recent months in our community. Florence Bass, Nancy Fisher, Saul Fisher, Barbara Friedman, Lee Friedman, Sandra Friedman, Arlene Mandelbaum, Maya Rosofsky, Lisa Schneidman, and Norma Small. We also mark the yardzites in our community that occurred during the last week for Muriel Binder, Corey Scott Ehrlitz, Dora Field, Nancy Fisher, Hugh France, Goldie Friedman, May Froman, Lillian Gluckman, Herman Golden, Abraham Goldstein, Ruth Grossman, Annette Heller, Gerald Cass, Evelyn Katz, Miriam Krotman, Arthur Levy, Jack Lieberbaum, Rose Maisel, Nathan Meyerson, Margie Pollack, Benjamin Schwab, Mo Slater, Aaron Spitzer, and Morris Wolf. And of course tonight we are thinking of all of those whose lives were taken in the Shoah, who we do not have names for. We do not even know where they are. We hold them in our hearts and our minds, even if we didn't know them. We remember them collectively together. And of course, we remember all the lives that have been taken recently as a result of the virus as well. If you please join with me, Mourner's Kaddish is on page 616 online, 598 in print. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Amen. Be'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, V'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala b'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'le'almei almayim. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha b'richu. Le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, Da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shalom Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Zichronam livracha, may every one of their memories be for a blessing. please be seated at home. And before we conclude our service with Kiddush, and before we hopefully will hop online in just a few moments for Oneg Shabbat, just again want to wish all of you a Shabbat Shalom. I hope that you are safe and sound at home. If you're part of the community and you need any help or assistance, please do let me know. I also just want to highlight a few other things. Thank those that showed up last night for Keelan's concert online. And we're working on the audio stuff a little bit so that next time we will have a higher quality sound to it. But Keelan was his wonderful self, and it was really a treat to see everybody online. Also, just to tell you that Cantor Emily is going to be leading a special service, not next Shabbat, but the following Shabbat. I believe it's May 8th. She'll be leading it on Zoom from California. She's very excited to be able to do so. She sends her love to each and every one of you. And thank God she and her family are doing okay. Also, just to note that next Shabbat, our next Women's Torah Commentary Torah study will be taught by Margaret Bromberg, who will be teaching via Zoom from Israel, which is an extra treat, aside from just being able to learn from Margaret, who's always wonderful, but to have that connection to our land of Israel is wonderful. And also, speaking of Israel, the transition from Yom HaShoah in the land of Israel and then eventually to Yom HaZikaron and then to Yom HaAtzmaut. Next week, Yom HaAtzmaut and Yom HaZikaron are taking place in the land of Israel. And while we can't gather together the way that we would hope to or normally would have, we are going to connect to a few things online, stuff that we are going to do ourselves and some things that are happening around the world, including in Israel and including here in the States, to try to make sure that we are still celebrating the remarkable reality that is the state of Israel. In this challenging time, we will still remember, we will still feel connected, and it will be a treat. So please just keep an eye out for an e-blast about that earlier in the week, probably Monday morning. Also, just to note, if any of you are watching this or for some reason are not getting the regular emails, please let me know. We're trying to update our database as best as possible, so please, if you're having any issues, let me know. Last thing, which I can't speak to, I don't know whether it happened tonight as part of the service, but last week, I know as part of our stream, things got a little bit choppy. Long story short, I think I have solved that problem, and hopefully will be in place for next week. So if there were any issues tonight's service, or there will be issues tomorrow, hopefully it will be the last week of that. Otherwise, I hope things have been working well, but if you have any feedback on a technological level, it's also helpful to know. So the last thing is, I hope that you got the invitation for our Oneg Shabbat online as soon as we're done with our service here. I know I'm running a few minutes behind what I normally would. Torah study tomorrow at noon, services beginning at 10 o'clock. Again, if you're not a member of the community and you'd like to join us for either our Oneg or our Torah study, we would be happy to have you, but for security reasons, online security reasons, we need to know who you are. So just email me to the rabbi address on our website and let me know who you are and what you'd like to be involved in, and I'll make sure that you get access. So with that, I wish you again a Shabbat Shalom, and we're going to turn in our prayer books online to page 141, and in our physical prayer book to page 123 as we celebrate Shabbat with Kiddush. And if you have any grape juice or wine at home, this would be the time to grab it and to rise if you are able, and to please join with me. Actually, it's okay with you, I'm going to do a family version. Vayera vayivoker yom hashishi, vayichulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzava'am, vayichalu bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa, vayishpot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa, vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i v'kadesh oto, ki bo shavat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim lasot, savri baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'v'ratzon enchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila mikrai kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim, ki banu b'achat aviatana kidashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha b'ahava u'v'ratzon enchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. Amen. L'chaim to you, to life. Shabbat Shalom. I hope this will be a Shabbat of rest and of reflection for each and every one of us. And for those joining us online for Oneg, just give me about 2 minutes and I will see you online. Shabbat Shalom.